Time for dinner. We are beginning the book of 1 Kings. And Sovereign David was old, advanced in years, and they covered him with garments, and he could not get warm. So his servants said to him, "Let them seek for our master the sovereign a young woman, a maiden, and she shall stand before the sovereign and be his companion, and shall lie in your bosom, so that our master the sovereign gets warm." And they sought for a beautiful young woman in all the border of Israel, and found Abishag, the Shunammite, and brought her to the sovereign. And the young woman was very beautiful, and she was a companion for the sovereign, and served him, but the sovereign did not know her. And Adoniah, son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, "I reign." And he prepared for himself a chariot and horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. Now his father... The dogs are wrestling on the bed. I apologize. Now his father had not worried him at any time by saying, "Why have you done so?" He was also very good looking, and he was born after Absalom. And he talked with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar the priest, and they supported Adoniah. But Zadok the priest, and Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and Nathan the prophet, and Shimei and Rai, and the mighty men who belonged to David were not with Adoniah. And Adoniah slaughtered sheep and cattle and fatlings by the stone of Zoheleth, which is by Enrogel. He also invited all his brothers, the sovereign's sons, and all the men of Yehuda, servants of the sovereign. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, or Benaiah, or the mighty men, or Shelomo his brother. Nathan then spoke to Bathsheba, the mother of Shelomo, saying, "Have you not heard that Adoniah, son of Haggith, has become sovereign, and David our master does not know it? And now, come, let me give you advice, and deliver your own life and the life of your son Shelomo. Go immediately to sovereign David and say to him, 'Did you not, my master, O sovereign, swear to your female servant, saying, Certainly your son Shelomo shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? Why then has Adoniah become sovereign? Look, while you are still speaking, there with the sovereign, let me come in after you and confirm your words.' And Bathsheba went into the room to the sovereign. Now the sovereign was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite was serving the sovereign. And Bathsheba bowed and did obeisance to the sovereign. And the sovereign said, 'What do you wish?' And she said to him, 'My master, you swore by Jehovah your Elohim to your female servant, saying, Certainly Shelomo your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne. And now look, Adoniah has become sovereign, and now my master, the sovereign, you do not know about it. And he has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the sons of the sovereign, and Abiathar the priest, and Joab the commander of the army, but he did not invite Shelomo your servant. And you, my master, O sovereign, the eyes of all Israel are on you, to declare to them who is going to sit on the throne of my master the sovereign after him. Otherwise it shall be, when my master the sovereign rests with his fathers, that I and my son Shelomo shall be considered sinners." And see, while she was still speaking with the sovereign, Nathan the prophet also came in. So they informed the sovereign, saying, "Here is Nathan the prophet." And when he came in before the sovereign, he bowed down before the sovereign with his face to the ground. And Nathan said, O master, O sovereign, have you said, Adoniyahu shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? For he has gone down today and has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the sovereign's sons and the commanders of the army and Abiathar the priest, and look, they are eating and drinking before him, and they say, Let sovereign Adoniyahu live. But he has not invited me, not your servant, nor Sadok the priest, nor Benaiyahu, son of Jehoiada, nor your servant Shelomo. If this matter is from my master the sovereign, then you did not let your servant know who should sit on the throne of my master the sovereign after him. And sovereign David answered and said, Call Bathsheba to me. So she came into the sovereign's presence and stood before the sovereign. And the sovereign took an oath and said, As Jehovah lives, who has ransomed my life out of all distress, even as I swore to you by Jehovah Elohim of Yisrael, saying, Certainly Shelomo your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne in my place, even so I do this day. And Bathsheba bowed her face to the earth and did obeisance to the sovereign, and said, Let my master, sovereign David, live forever. And sovereign David said, Call me Sadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiyahu son of Jehoiada, and they came before the sovereign. And the sovereign said to them, Take with you the servant of your master, and you shall have Shelomo my son ride on my own mule, and take him down to Gibeon. And there Sadok the priest and Nathan the prophet shall anoint him sovereign over Yisrael, and blow the shofar, and say, Let sovereign Shelomo live. And you shall come up after him, and he shall come and sit on my throne, and he shall reign in my place. For I have commanded him to be ruler over Yisrael and over Yehudah. And Benaiyahu said to Jehoiada, answered the sovereign and said, Amen. So says Jehovah Elohim of my master the sovereign. As Jehovah has been with my master the sovereign, so let him be with Shelomo, and make his throne greater than the throne of my master sovereign David. Then Sadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiyahu son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites and the Pelethites went down, and had Shelomo ride on sovereign David's mule, and took him to Gibeon. And Sadok the priest took a horn of oil from the tent, and anointed Shelomo. And they blew with the shofar, and all the people said, Let sovereign Shelomo live. And all the people came up after him, and the people played the flutes, and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth was split by their noise. And Adoniyahu and all the guests who were with him heard it as they had finished eating. And Joab heard the voice of the shofar, and said, Why is the city in such a noisy uproar? And he was still speaking. Then see, Jonathan came, son of Abiathar the priest. And Adoniyahu said to him, Come in, for you are a brave man, and you bring good news. But Jonathan answered and said to Adoniyahu, No, our master sovereign David has made Shelomo sovereign. And the sovereign has sent with him Sadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiyahu son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and they had him ride on the sovereign's mule. And Sadok the priest and Nathan the prophet have anointed him sovereign at Gibeon. And they have gone up from there rejoicing, and the city is moved. This is the noise you heard. And further, Shelomo sits on the throne, of the rain. And further, the servants of the sovereign have gone to bless our master, sovereign David, saying, Let your Elohim make the name of Shlomo better than your name, and his throne greater than your throne. And the sovereign bowed himself on the bed. And the sovereign also said thus, Blessed be Jehovah, Elohim of Yisrael, who has given one to sit on my throne this day, while my eyes see it. And all the guests who were invited by Adoniah were afraid, and rose, and each one went his way. And Adoniah was afraid of Shlomo, and rose, and went and took hold of the horns of the slaughter place. And it was reported to Shlomo, saying, Look, Adoniah is afraid of sovereign Shlomo. And look, he has taken hold of the horns of the slaughter place, saying, Let sovereign Shlomo swear to me today that he does not put his servant to death with the sword. And Shlomo said, If he proves himself a worthy man, not one hair of him is going to fall to the earth. But if evil is found in him, then he shall die. And sovereign Shlomo sent, and they brought him down from the slaughter place. And he came and fell down before sovereign Shlomo. And Shlomo said to him, Go to your house. And the days of David draw near to die, and he commanded Shlomo his son, saying, I am going the way of all the earth, and you shall be strong and be a man, and guard the charge of Jehovah your Elohim, to walk in his ways, to guard his laws, his commands, his right rulings, and his witnesses, as it is written in the Torah of Moshe, so that you do wisely all that you do and wherever you turn, so that Jehovah does establish his word which he spoke concerning me, saying, If your sons guard their way to walk before me in truth with all their heart and with all their being, saying, There is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Yisrael. And also, you know what Joab son of Zeruiah did to me, and what he did to the two commanders of the armies of Yisrael, to Abner son of Ner, and Amasa son of Yether, that he killed them, and shed the blood of battle in peace. But put the blood of battle on his belt that was around his waist, and on his sandals that were on his feet. So act accordingly to your wisdom, and do not let his gray hair go down to Sheol in peace, but show loving commitment to the sons of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and let them be among those who eat at your table. For so they came to me when I fled from Absalom your brother. And see, with you is Shammai, son of Gera, the Binyamite, from Bahurim, who cursed me with a grievous cursing in the day when I went to Mahanaim. But he came down to meet me at the Yarden, and I swore to him by Jehovah, saying, I shall not put you to death with the sword. And now, do not leave him unpunished, for you are a wise man, and know what you should do to him, and shall bring his gray hair down to Sheol with blood. And David slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David. And the days that David reigned over Yisrael was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. And Shlomo sat on the throne of his father David, and his reign was firmly established. And Adoniah, son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Shlomo, and said, Do you come in peace? And he said, Peace. And he said, I have a word for you. And she said, Speak. And he said, You know that the reign was mine, and all Israel had set their face toward me, that I should reign. But the reign has been turned around, and has become my brother's, for it was from Elohim, Yehovah. And now I am making one request of you. Do not refuse me. And she said to him, Say it. And he said, Please speak to the sovereign Shlomo, for he would not refuse you, to give me Abishag the Shunammite as wife. And Bathsheba said, Good, let me speak for you to the sovereign. And Bathsheba came to the sovereign Shlomo to speak to him for Adoniyahu, and the sovereign rose up to meet her and bowed down to her and sat down on his throne, and had a throne set for the sovereign's mother. So she sat at his right hand. And she said, I am making one small request of you. Do not refuse me. And the sovereign said to her, Ask it, my mother, for I do not refuse you. Then she said, Let Abishag, the Shunammite, be given to Adoniyahu, your brother, as wife. The sovereign Shlomo answered and said to his mother, Now why do you ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adoniyahu? Ask for him the reign also, for he is my older brother, for him and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab, son of Zeruiah. And the sovereign Shlomo swore by Jehovah, saying, Elohim does so to me, and more also, if Adoniyahu has not spoken this word against his own life. And now, as Jehovah lives, who established me and set me on the throne of David my father, and who has made me a house, as he promised, Adoniyahu shall be put to death today. And sovereign Shlomo sent by the hand of Benaiyahu, son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him, and he died. Then the sovereign said to Abiathar the priest, Go to Anathoth, to your own fields, for you deserve death. But I do not put you to death at this time, because you did bear the ark of the Master Jehovah before my father David, and because you were afflicted in all my father was afflicted in. So Shlomo dismissed Abiathar from being priest to Jehovah, to fill the word of Jehovah which he spoke concerning the house of Eli at Shiloh. And news came to Joab, for Joab had turned aside from Adoniah, though he did not turn aside from Absalom. And Joab fled to the tent of Jehovah, and took hold of the thorns of the slaughter place. And the report came to sovereign Shlomo that Joab had fled to the tent of Jehovah, and see, he is by the slaughter place. Then Shlomo sent Benaiyahu, son of Jehoiada, saying, Go, fall on him. So Benaiyahu came to the tent of Jehovah, and said to him, Thus said sovereign, Come out. And he said, No, for here I die. And Benaiyahu brought back word to the sovereign, saying, Thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And the sovereign said to him, Do as he has said, and fall upon him. And you shall bury him, so that you take away from me and from the house of my father the blood which you have shed without cause. Thus Jehovah shall return his blood on his head, because he had fallen on 2 men more righteous and better than he, and killed them with the sword, while my father David did not know it. Abner son of Ner, commander of the army of Israel, and Amasa son of Jether, commander of the army of Yehuda. So shall their blood return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of his seed forever, but upon David and his seed, upon his house and his throne, there is to be peace forever from Jehovah. Then Benaiyahu, son of Jehoiada, went up and fell upon him and put him to death, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. And the sovereign put Benaiyahu, son of Jehoiada, in his place over the army, and the sovereign put Zadok, the priest, of the place of Abiathar. And the sovereign sent and called for Shimei, and said to him, Build yourself a house in Jerusalem, and dwell there. And do not go out from there anywhere. And it shall be, on the day you go out and pass over the Wadi Kidron, know for certain that you shall die. Your blood is on your own head. And Shimei said to the sovereign, The word is good, as my master the sovereign has said, so your servant does. So Shimei dwelt in Jerusalem many days. And it came to be, at the end of 3 years, that 2 slaves of Shimei fled to Achish, son of Maacah, sovereign of Gath. And they informed Shimei, saying, See, your slaves are in Gath. And Shimei rose up, and saddled his donkey, and went to Achish at Gath, and looked for his slaves. And Shimei went, and brought his slaves from Gath. And Shelomoth was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath, and had come back. So the sovereign sent and called for Shimei, and said to him, Did I not make you swear by Jehovah, and warn you, saying, Know for certain that on the day you leave to go anywhere you shall certainly die? And you said to me, The word I have heard is good. And why have you not guarded the oath of Jehovah, and the command that I gave you? The sovereign also said to Shimei, You shall know all the evil that your heart has known, that you did to my father David, and Jehovah shall return your evil on your own head. But the sovereign Shelomoth is blessed, and the throne of David is established before Jehovah forever. So the sovereign commanded Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and he went out and fell on him, and he died. And the reign was established in the hand of Shelomoth.